12 years of Five Nights at Freddy's. I was about 80% done with a video script on FNAF, completely oblivious to this fact when I was struck over the back of the head with the metal bat that is these anniversary announcements. But thank God, because every time I checked in on the rest of the fandom, it seemed to be one big giving up party. These 3 upcoming releases are undoubtedly something to get excited for, especially with the Scott Games Twitter posting something new every day since then, finally listening to us that they need to promote more in social media. I myself also haven't been this hyped in years for FNAF, as I've not really been the biggest fan of the Steel Wool era's run so far. But since this is probably the first piece of media I've ever wanted to make content on, I'm glad to have this to cover as my first FNAF-related video. Know there will absolutely be more, and I plan on streaming both games as soon as they release, as well as making a full video on the attraction. So subscribe if you want to see that as well. Alright, let's get to what you came here for. Starting with the thing I'm currently most excited about, out of nowhere, FNAF World 2! But with how weird this game gets at times, unfortunately it makes it very hard to speculate on, especially when the first was made by Scott Cawthon, and this one is being made by a team completely new to Five Nights, Mega Cat Studios. Hey, really quick about them. So apparently they're actively exploiting Filipino workers and college interns, finding every way to pay them as little as possible, so I'm not necessarily telling you to do anything exactly, but there might be something fun on the screen. I'm going to start with gameplay this time to get the obvious things out of the way. The original was released right before Sister Location, so the roster of characters was limited to games 1 through 4. This game has to feature the much larger cast. I'm imagining a list of like 80 characters with the same 2-team slot system. Sister Location, Pizzeria Simulator, Security Breach, maybe even Secret of the Mimic. Undoubtedly, we will get a major graphics upgrade and an option to turn off the flashing lights for people who experience epilepsy, as well as a much more explained UI, since there's a lot of small oddities like not knowing whose party HP bar is whose in battles, no descriptions of attacks, and not having the run button displayed. To add on to attacks, maybe each character can have a specific attack that only they have, and it's extra strong, but you have to charge it over a number of turns. Something that's present in a lot of other RPGs. In place of characters like Lolbit being the shopkeepers, I can see them instead using characters such as Mystic Hippo or the Carney from Help Wanted. As far as bosses go, there's really no way to know what they'll do there. Old ones were either simply based off the area they were found in, like a squid for the water or snowman for the cold, or a reference to one of Scott's older games, or Scott himself. They could all be completely new things we've never seen before. We could get a way more agonizing return of Chica's Magic Rainbow, fishing, the glitch, warps, and clocks or something similar could make a return. Definitely multiple endings, maybe a rhythm game element so Freddy and his friends can finally play as a band. And then there's story. Honestly, nobody is going to understand this reference, so I'll explain it in a second, but I hope the plot is similar to Pokemon Rumble Blast. I think it would be really fitting, and I'd love to see a world map where the various different eras of FNAF are sectioned into villages, and you need to restore power from something that stole it so they can keep performing or something. Overall, I'm hoping for a well-balanced RPG with a lot of fun cutscenes, more ridiculous jokes, and lots of replayability. Oh, and an extreme hard mode would be wonderful to see. Moving on with the one I'm most confused by, Security Breach 2, which, I mean, honestly at first I didn't think anyone really asked for, but despite my initial worry, I'm willing to stay optimistic that this could be good. A continuation of arguably the best Steel Wool era game in my opinion, but wasn't that just Ruin? Ruin was already a direct sequel to Security Breach being its DLC, so that makes me think this new edition is going to be a prequel instead, following in the original FNAF's footsteps. It would make the most sense because of my 2 biggest questions leaving Security Breach. 1. What's up with Gregory's history, seemingly being homeless and yet being such good friends with Ruin's protagonist Cassie that she trusts his voice enough to walk straight into Murderville Population Mimic? And 2. Why did we barely get any Vanessa when she was hyped up so much in promotional content as the new main villain? When it comes to the story, this could be their opportunity to polish up those oddities, and if they really want to fix the lack of content and change things up, we could get a game playing playing as Vanessa, getting a much more startling perspective on her descent into madness as Afton's successor. After all, one of the teasers shows her in a much more disturbing art style, fractured with elements of Glitch Trap, which implies his return into plot relevance. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's something I'm hopeful for, but it would give them an excuse to reuse elements of the Vanny mask from Ruin, and it could put a real emphasis on the consequences of trust theming we often see in FNAF. Trusting the phone guy's advice, trusting baby and sister location, Henry in Pizzeria Simulator, Gregory's voice in Ruin, and now your boss's voice in Secret of the Mimic. In all these games, the player needs to choose whether or not to trust in order to progress. As for actual gameplay, I have no idea. A Security Breach 2 definitely implies a return of the Glamrock animatronics. I'm just stuck because I feel like they all got plenty of moments to shine without the need for any additional content. Although maybe if they go the prequel route, they're planning on involving Glamrock Bonnie in some way. Security Breach did make it glaringly clear that Fazbear Entertainment was trying to scrub any Rabbit characters off the company's image. In Help Wanted 2, there's a minigame where we help Roxy get ready for the show with accessories. If they go with the story plot I mentioned, maybe a back and forth between acting like we're helping the animatronics while secretly trying to salvage them for parts, making an effective contrast to Gregory's need to do just that in the first Security Breach. Weirdly enough, recent teasers involve a pool area. The concept of a Freddy's-themed water park is absolutely insane to me. Like, I'd be over the moon if that's what they're really going for. It would make a really fun setting to traverse through, something I think Ruin severely lacked in. Mostly, above all else, I'm just hoping they take their time making it, listening to the feedback from the first Security Breach when it was released with its mountain of glitches and a rushed story plot. They need to severely improve the animatronic AI and just make certain things look better and more polished. Something that was always jarring to me about Security Breach was the look of the watch cameras and the way characters look on TV screens. Oh, and if you're gonna do Princess Quest again, at least do something cool and climactic with it. And finally, we have the true biggest announcement of all, a real Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant coming to American Dream in New Jersey. For now, all we really have to go off of is this image of pizza and the building location. I've never heard of American Dream before now, so I did a tiny bit of research. Apparently, it's a mall of attractions holding massive entertainment rooms like an indoor Nickelodeon theme park, a DreamWorks water park, and even a year-round ski resort. Game rooms, aquariums, learning places, mini golf, they have everything, and I'm very pleasantly surprised by their attention to detail, which couldn't be more important for us. It's confirmed we're getting a FNAF 1 immersive experience as far as the actual restaurant goes, so no animatronics from the second game and onward, just the main three on the main stage and Foxy and Pirates Cove. But the first question I have is whether they're going to make the place look more like the games or the movies. Personally, I much prefer the games, but I bet it could also have a sorta similar feel to the haunted house attraction that was at Halloween Horror Nights in Universal. But allow me to get a little ambitious. Having an interactive game centered around the security office is a no-brainer idea. Obviously, food's served right off the game menus, whether those be classic items, new, or refreshed versions. It could easily run similarly to a Chuck E. Cheese, play arcade games, get tickets, and win Fazbear and Friends branded prizes. Little things like seeing the FNAF 1 rules poster would be amazing to see. But my second, much more important question is whether or not they're going to make this a PG-13 attraction. As I mentioned, the mall has a lot of other events, and most if not all are either made for kids or at least strongly encourage bringing kids. And FNAF has a long history of kids finding themselves in places they don't belong, and then parents getting upset over it, in more universes than one. So I ask, please let this be targeted to teens and young adults, because I would love to see, for example, real arcade machines that play the minigames we know and love, like Fruity Maze and Midnight Midnight Motorist from Pizzeria Simulator with their own intentional glitches and scares. Casual mentions of death in disclaimer speeches like done countless times across the series, and truly chilling spectacles like the band talking to each other between songs and then it suddenly goes dark, their pupils turn pinpoint white. But of course, nothing dangerous actually happens. The songs they perform could be anything too. Songs from the games, fan songs if they got permission, songs from the movies like Talking in Your Sleep. And what would be really insane is an actor in a spring Bonnie suit luring you into a back room to do another interactive activity. Maybe you get to see a back room with actual spare parts. And on the tamer side, maybe a shooting game recreation with Phaz blasters, something like that. But I literally couldn't be happier to know that this is a permanent location, not a pop-up that'll go away in a few weeks. Once it's ready in 2027, it's staying there for good. And since it's relatively close to me, like literally just a state or two away, I'm absolutely making it my mission to be one of the first in that line and make a video for you guys about the whole experience. And with that, I think that's about all I have for you today. If you made it here to the end of the video, comment your thoughts, theories, excitements, and thank you so much for watching all the way through. The script was a difficult one to make, but I try to make sure I'm putting a lot of thought and effort into whatever I choose to talk about with you guys. And honestly, I'd be a little ashamed to make a lackluster video about something that's been such a big impact on my life. Here's to a phastastic 12 more years.